Hi, this is James Cook, Assistant Professor of Social Science at the University of Maine at Augusta, and I'm speaking to you here today as a student in my Criminology course. On October 20th, in the fall of 2013, you're expected to turn in a paper that's a result of your original research. I stress original because, of course, University of Maine at Augusta has a policy that says your work must be your own. We've covered this in class already, and I expect you to abide by that, and I fully expect that you will. If you take a look at that assignment, which is listed in your syllabus, you'll see not only that it's due October 20th, but that it requires you to have access to a certain set of information, namely the ProQuest newsstand. This is why I asked you at the beginning of the semester to take a look at that syllabus and make sure you read it thoroughly and that you agreed to its terms, because one of the things it said was you need to get yourself a library card. Now, everybody who's taking a class through the University of Maine at Augusta should be able to obtain a UMA library card. This is mine, and it doesn't look very much like me anymore because it was taken a few years ago, but it does have a number down at the bottom. And that number down at the bottom is my library card. In order to activate it, I had to follow instructions which are available on the syllabus. It's not automatically a library card. You have to sign up for privileges, but it's free. And once you get that, you get access to an amazing amount of information, an amazing number of databases. Databases really just means organized information. It's information that corporations of the world pay millions of dollars for, and you have access to it for free, which I think is great. So when you get your library card privileges, and if you don't have them, get them now, you will have access to the electronic news bank called ProQuest. It's in the University of Maine library system, and I'd like you to use that. It has a publications search, and let's go through exactly how to use that to obtain the information that I'm looking for. Fortunately, in the online syllabus, I present a link to the University of Maine library system. I'm going to click on that. And here I have a big long list of A to Z, loads of pieces of information. JSTOR up there under J is great. It's journal storage. It's one of the many sources of journals, academic journals, that you could pay thousands of dollars for every year that you can read for free. It's great. And you can't find those articles on the internet. But we are looking for ProQuest Newsstand, and that's right here under P. I'm going to click on it. Oh dear, and now I'm being sent to a page, right? It's a page where I'm being told to enter my last name and to enter my barcode number. Okay, and that's the number right underneath the barcode on your card. It's a long series of numbers. Well, here we are. And here's your assignment. I printed it out from the syllabus. And now, if you just try to do a search here, you're not going to get very far. In step 3, I asked you to use the advanced search option. Here it is. Advanced search, right under the title where it says advanced. Now, there's a lot of options here, but let's go through them. And when we go through them, I'm going to break one of the rules of the assignment, and I'm going to do it for your sake. I ask you in step 1 to find a newspaper for an American city of at least 100,000 population, and then I give you a list of those that you can head to look them up. You won't find any in Maine, by the way, because there is no city in Maine that has more than 100,000 people. I'm going to go through an example right now with cities of less than 100,000. And I'm doing that so that I don't cut off any interesting possible examples. I want your work to be your own. I want you to work with a city of more than 100,000. I'll work with a city of less than 100,000. and that way my work won't possibly overlap with yours, except in showing you how to work through ProQuest. The first thing you really need to do is you need to go through and you need to make sure, of course, that your publication of interest, once you've found it for this American city of at least 100,000 population, that it is actually listed in the ProQuest newsstand database. Unfortunately, not all of the major cities are, and not all of their major newspapers are. This is just one of the hassles of the modern internet. How do you do that? It's not hard. Let's take a look under Advanced Search at the first box here. It's a big box, and we're going to insert the title of a newspaper. My example newspaper is the Bangor Daily News. That's the title. You have to make sure you spell it right. Now I'm going to want to search, but what makes this an advanced search is that I get to decide what field, what kind of information I'm going to search for Bangor Daily News in. I wouldn't want to just search anywhere for Bangor Daily News because, say, the New York Times or the Washington Post might write an article in which they talk about the Bangor Daily News, especially if maybe the Bangor Daily News broke a story. Well, that's not the same as a newspaper article in the Bangor Daily News. We want to make sure that the Bangor Daily News is the publication title. How do we do that? We click over here to the right of this box, and instead of searching anywhere, we want to search in the publication title, PUB for short, publication title. So now I'm going to do that search, and I'm going to find out if ProQuest Newsstand holds that newspaper. Now, what happens if you have a newspaper in mind and it is not going to show up here? It says we have no articles from that newspaper. Sorry. What do? Pick another newspaper. So I'm going to hit search now. Okay, great. Well, it tells me that I have a number of results. How many? This is why I want you to use ProQuest Newsstand. It tells me the exact count of the results right here. 454,268 results. Wow. Okay, so that's a lot. And I say, well, that's not good enough because, let's see, Professor Cook is looking for all articles, and under number 3, counts here, a count of all articles published in the year 2012 in my newspaper. So I really want something more specific than that. Bangor, not Bangor Public Library, Bangor Daily News. Always make sure you're writing the right thing. If you get distracted, who knows what you'll write. Okay, so that's the publication title. Now let's look further down the screen. Do you see here, publication date? That is a field that allows me to search within a particular year. How am I going to do that? Well, there's a drop-down menu here, so let's click on that. Ooh, and I want, way down at the bottom, a specific date range. So if I want all articles in the year 2012, that means I want it to start on January 1st, 2012, and I want that to end December 31st, 2012. Great. So now I think I'm ready to go back and search. So that's a modification of my original search. I had 454 some odd thousand. How many in just 2012? Okay, a much smaller number now. 23,407 results. Great. Oh, hey, look. That's the first item. I've already got my first item down. I've been talking through this, doing it slowly, and it only took me a few minutes to get that. Great. This is not going to be too hard for you to do once you get the gist of it. Well, I'm going to go back. I could just hit back, and I could re-enter all the search terms, or look under here. There's a little link here that says Modify Search in the upper part on the right. So I'm going to click Modify Search, and it takes me back to the same advanced search, but it keeps all my old information in there. Now, I could change it around. I could change this around to 2011 if I wanted, which I don't want to do. But I could do something else. Okay. Well, what else do I have to do? I need to go to number 2. Item number 2. All articles written in 2012 containing a reference to crime. How do you know if one of those 23,000 plus newspaper articles has a reference to crime? You have a variable in mind, right? A reference to crime. Does the article contain a reference to crime or not? You could have a variable in mind, which is the count of all of them in a year. But you have to decide what counts as an article with a reference to crime. What would it contain? Well, it might contain in the full text, document text, FT, that's an option down here, see under and. It might contain crime or criminal. That's one possibility. Now, are all references to crime going to contain the words crime or criminal? Or might they also contain words like arrested or charged under the full text? It might, right? Charged. Charged might say like a charged atmosphere, like there were a lot of arguments. Is that a good one? No, not really. Could try felony. Those are all things you might try. I leave it to you to decide what counts as a reference to crime in a news article. You're going to have to talk about it, and you're going to have to note your decision, and you're going to have a justifiable reason for them. Your operationalization, to use the word from earlier in the semester, the way you specifically measure a variable, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you should at least have a reason for it. This is one example of an operationalization. I'm going to search. Okay. It tells me here that I have 489,601 results. Why is that? How could that possibly be? If you put information in parentheses, then the and will apply to all of them. Will that help? I'm going to actually edit the text there. Yes, that was our problem. Let's go back to the logic and look at that. This is important. Whoops. I want to go modify the search. When I think about that, it says Bangor Daily News and crime or criminal, or some article that says arrested or felony. So it's either going to get Bangor Daily News and crime or criminal, or an article that's about arrests and felony. Is that a problem? Absolutely. I really want to say that, let's remove this row, that it's Bangor Daily News and either crime or criminal or arrested or felony, at least in my operationalization. So how do I do that? I make sure that they're all included under the same parenthesis, in the same bracket, right? So now here, how do I do that? Here's another way to do that. You can go into the search term itself, and you want to make sure that you must have publication Bangor Daily News and full text crime or criminal, but you want to have more terms in there. Maybe arrest or arrested or felony, right? Yeah. You could think of more terms. You put them inside all the parentheses, and it's kind of like mathematics, okay? So everything inside the parentheses is grouped together. So it's got to be in the Bangor Daily News, and one of those terms has to be in the full text. Then when I hit return or enter, it'll give me a change in my results. Okay, now see I put in an additional term and I got more results. 3,158. That makes sense within 2012. So, but think about that. Of the 23,000 Bangor Daily News results, 3,158 has to do with the word crime or criminal or arrest or arrested or felony. So now you have an interesting piece of information. That's pretty interesting. What can you do to make sure you're getting the right sort of thing? You can go down through, and besides just simply counting the results, you can go through a series of them, and you can look at the titles, right? Second man arrested in Waldoboro for allegedly trading guns for drugs. Okay, that's exactly what you're looking for. One of two men shot in a Herman home invasion dies. Gets a mention of crime. It'll actually tell you underneath each of these, right, if we look at it in a little bit more detail. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. Yes. We can notice that the word arrested or felony or criminal or crime is placed within a phrase, and it shows you exactly how it appears, which is great. It gives you a chance to make sure that what you think you're measuring, you're actually measuring. Okay, so you're going to want to do that for all articles containing a reference to crime, and you have to decide what keywords go in there. And then the next step, the next bullet point, is the total number of articles written on each of the following types of crime: murders and non-negligent manslaughter, forcible rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, theft, motor vehicle theft. Now, you have to decide again what keywords fit here. When reporters refer to motor vehicle theft, do they refer to motor vehicle theft? What did they say in their articles in order to express the idea that someone's car was stolen? Do they say, on the other hand, probably not motor vehicle theft? Perhaps occasionally. Let's look. Does anyone in the Bangor Daily News write about motor vehicle theft? Okay, as the phrase. Let's find out. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's theft. Okay. Burglary of a motor vehicle. Okay, but it shows me some other things are going on as well. If you look in here, we have burglary of a motor vehicle and burglary of motor vehicle as a phrase. But we also have an article included in here that is containing multiple references from the court records. Failing to notify of motor vehicle accident. Oh, and then 2 counts of theft by someone else. It's combining the two and it's saying, oh, motor vehicle theft. Another headache in our operationalization. So here's an instance in which we have, 191 results. But in those results, we have the words motor vehicle and theft, but they're separated. How can we fix this? Can we place the phrase motor vehicle theft in quotes? Can we then say, or, what have we learned? Burglary of a motor vehicle or just burglary of motor vehicle. What happens if we do that? Will it give us the whole phrase and nothing but the phrase? Let's find out. I pressed enter. I wait. Now it gives me 68 results. Yes, it does. Look, now it just says burglary of motor vehicle, burglary of motor vehicle, burglary of motor vehicle, etc., etc. A lot of burglary of motor vehicle. These are all court reports. So this is a pretty standard phrase, right? Now I have a little bit of a concern when I'm thinking about this keyword. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out so that we can look at the whole. Is motor vehicle theft ever occurring in there, first of all, which is the phrase that the Uniform Crime Report refers to? No, only 5 times. Motor vehicle theft. Are there other terms that might be included there? Okay, car theft. Twice. How about stolen car? 5. How about stole a car? 5. How about car theft? 2. What does this tell you? It says there are different ways of thinking about this phrase, but some of them are used more often than others. Let's use another one, and this is a kind of an interesting phrase because it's become really interesting in the newspapers in the last year or two. The idea of forcible rape. This is an old-fashioned term coined by the FBI, representing an old-fashioned idea that there are some rapes that include force and other ones that don't. Social scientists and criminologists in particular have recognized since that time that the idea of force is not limited to physical force, that there are other kinds of coercion that can be involved. So newspapers long ago figured this out. And how often does the phrase forcible rape occur? Twice in the whole year in 2012. What if we just think about the word rape? Mentions of a crime, the crime of rape. 90 results. What does that broadly fit into the category of? Sexual assault? How often does that appear? 147 times. Now, when you look at these, you can look at 2, 3, 4, 5 of these articles, and you can say, well, do the sexual assault references refer to crimes? If they do, are you going to include the phrase sexual assault in your search? Or are you not going to? You have to be able to justify it. That's your choice. In fact, one of the things I really want you to do is to start to appreciate how difficult it can be to firmly measure some of these references. The same thing applies for murder or non-negligent manslaughter. You have to come up with a set of phrases that would capture the idea. Some of them are going to be particular, some of them are going to be loose. You're going to go through all of these, and each time you're going to give me a count of the results that you get through ProQuest Newsstand. Then you're going to go through, and you're going to go to the FBI data, preliminary FBI data for 2012, because when I made the assignment, that's all that was available. And I want you to find data for the city you selected, using the link in the assignment, to find actually the number of instances of reports to the police or by the police of each of those crimes in the same year, 2012. So if you can do that, then you can calculate a percentage of all Uniform Crime Report Part 1 crimes, because that's what they are, that fall into each of those categories of crimes. How many of each category is reported by the police? How many of each category is reported by the press in the same city? Are they the same? Are they different? You have to write a paper of no more than 5 pages in which, first of all, you report all that information. Believe me, that will take a certain number of pages. Then I want you to describe and justify your choice for the search terms to represent different counts of crime. I want you to compare the representation of crime in the crime statistics to those in the newspapers. And I want you to think about if any differences occur, where those differences came from, what they represent, why they're there. And if we are going to, as a society, try to come to grips with crime, and if we're going to try to address it through policy, which is what state governments or local governments or federal governments do, what are we going to rely on? Are we going to rely on news reports? Are we going to rely on crime statistics? Is one the gold standard? Is the other a better standard? I want you to think about that a little bit. It gives you something to think about and talk about in addition to the statistics, but having reflected on the statistics. If you have any questions about this assignment, which is inspired, by the way, by Professor Catherine Novak's assignment that she published in a document called Trails. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I would be happy to talk to you about your questions. I wish you luck. Make sure that you start to work on this in advance. I hope you find this to be an interesting and enlightening exercise for thinking about media and thinking about crime statistics. And I know I'm going to really enjoy reading your results, because the results that you provide are probably going to be unique to you. There are very few people in the world that are looking at this particular question. You're one of them. This is how people become experts. We look into original data to answer questions. Fresh data too. Best of luck, and please do contact me if you have any questions.